this is a world of unique life forms that we have yet to understand. The deep sea that took millions and millions of years to form. Deep sea that mining is a new extractive industry that would destroy our planet's largest wilderness. Without global regulation, humans will undoubtedly destroy the unknown living inheritance before we even understand it.
We need to have places that are only given the highest level of respect. Those are some of the discussions we need to have.
About 90% of the habitable space on the planet is in the ocean. If you're thinking three dimensions, 90% of what's livable is in the ocean.
The ocean governs Earth's life support system. It's where most of the water is. It's where most of life on Earth is.
The biodiversity and the ability for creation is still alive and well in the deep sea.
If we landed on Mars and we encountered some of the species we're encountering in the deep sea, it would be front page news.
When scientists were originally described as this expanse of ocean of nothingness, but when they went below the surface, what they began to find is that there are mountain ranges that have never been seen before, biodiversity of these mountain ranges. What they began to learn is that these were areas that were just full of life, and the deeper that they went down, they found that all of the creatures there were 100% endemic.
At these depths, there's a whole constellation of life. It is a quiet, dark, cold, and incredibly fragile wilderness. We know more about outer space than we know about life in the deep sea. Indigenous voices from around the world are reminding us that we continue to need to respect and live in harmony with the ocean.
It just reaffirms our genealogy and our story that from this place is where life is created. They later discovered the largest coral, living coral to date on planet Earth, and they deemed this coral to be about 4,500 to 5,000 years old. And for me, this is science now reaffirming a cultural story, a cultural genealogy of place.
About 900 AD, that's how long we consider ourselves as having lived on our land as we currently utilising the same ocean resource as we did back then. So any look at our genealogies finds that we were part of a much larger ocean kingdom.
We have responsibility for all things that are here that give us life and sustenance, and we have responsibility to care for all things, all the way to the first of our ancestors. It is a perspective that not many people would understand, but it is what we believe.
Right now, we have lawlessness, we have open season, we have companies and countries wanting to go ahead and profit from taking what they can from the ocean. If that happens,
Ua lolongo po lilo nai olo, ua sina fo il ngalo nai tanu maleu tunga leu le tawa fiafi o tupu matamali. A wau a toa li o le masina yo tupu la Samoa wa potopoto. E whaingata o le au mala, a o le ua whaalanu mawe ave o tō whinga, tūlona lava. Ma tau te mwai whātalo whātu I pa ia o tala lei, o mamalu whaale atu nuu, whaapea sa alwhainga malo Amerika Samoa i ona tawhai tolu. O te whātu esem whaamawalalo atu Samoa, e leo o iai se vai o lau auna whatau waa. Nuu atu I te mama tua, ma pona o to'o le whale ula. Tainane le usonga tu mua ma pule, o le lato na whatau silena. Ai tau ina o pai I vai o le tama, a wā lea fio mai o lea fionga tamao lea tunuu, la wa fionga pula lii niko lau, tui tele lea panga yuli pula. Le pa ia o Samoa whaatasi mai le whale lau mei nei, whaapea le tapua inga o Samoa lo whaafunga mai maota malawa. Mai lava I le tai sama o le tui manua, se pa ia le tai ula o na whanua, mātou te whaatula watu. O tau sāng whainga o le ānunu atu whaatini o tau sala. Ai te tono le manatu o le a tātou tala mea whaasolo e tūsal manulau tio le nea fiafi. Alia mataina la tātou porokalama o te wala au atu whaamole mole mo se pim whai ona toina mai stato pese ona wala au atu lea i le sunga whaatono lau japam le sunga ia lolonga olo mo stato tausanga amatalia e tātou whaamue mue whaftai.
Tato ifo matalo. Le tuairo mato li. Le mato te tapua iei. Mauma mau lunga mea lo e fioai. O le ona le vi inga ma whane ni tanga. Haftai tele lo alofa ma lo anga lei. Ia te mato tei to atasi. Mai lava o mato tei tai. Le fionga ko vana ma siofo. Le lutena ko vana ma le fatua. Te o il kabineta whaasolo ifo tangata nu o Amerika Samoa, whaaftai whamalo pule lau a fio. Whaaftai tele i lau foai, whaaftai lau tausinga, whaaftai mo me uma wa e whaia mo i mātou e ui lava o na iei nisi o whita ma whaingata o whiangai pia mai mātou. E langona lava le mawhanwhana ma le pai mai o lo anga paia, e ala i mātou ngā duenga whaatino, i te ala tu lea i tono ni nei whainga malo. Leli ie, e le tonu masao pea i mātou i luma i lau fio. Mātou te talo i alofa. Mātou te whato ese atu i lau fio. I alofa whamangalo so mātou se. Whamangalo so lo mātou le whamaoni. E ala i to whinga o tofi e foi mātou. Whamangalo foi i mea mātou te whaia. E ala foi mea whaatino upu mātou te tautalai. Leli ie, i alofa sosoani, ma sosoani mai o mātou vaivainga. Leli ie, i alofa whaatasi mai, le whaamoemoenga le nea fiafi. E ala foi se whaatala tala noanga, hai mai se foi nisi o mta upo le atala noaina. Ia foa i le loto matala ma mawhauwhaunga le lei. A wā foi ia nisi o mta upo fia foi. Ina ia mātou ngālu due maua le loto ngatasi ma ngālu due ma fitau tiai, a wā se lumanai ma se lumanai manuia o le nea tunu, mātou te talo, i alofa sosoani, ma fuai le malosi, tino, malosi tino, poto ma le tamai, i a wā foinga luenga whai, e ala tō mātou taitai, la fionga kovana, ma whaitua, hei mai se foi lona soatau, le le afionga le lutena kovana ma le paitua ia e mese fo i le kapineta. E ala fo i tō mātou tautua i tolo ni neiwhenga mālo, whai le poto ma le atamai na ia mātou te au auna, ma tautua i pia mo le manuia o le neiwhenga mālo. Ia lofa fo i whātaisi mai, la mātou po kalamani a fiafi ai mese fo i pia whāpeo na maea, a ta ape filia li ia lofa pui pui ala uma o le a mātou ia, ai maise o mātou ainga o lo whātaisi mai. A talo lea arutu numa lau fio, mana tua pelo walo pelo Yesu ke isa lo mātou ali. Ona Yesu, amene.
Mole atu whaftai Director Olo, e tu sai fo i male mataina al tatou por kalama le nea fiafi. Talofa lava and good evening, everyone. On behalf of the American Samoa government and the Deep Sea Mining Task Force, I want to welcome each and every one of you to tonight's town hall. Thank you for making the time to join us for this important community conversation. This evening's town hall is part of our commitment to education, transparency, and civic engagement. The purpose of tonight's program is to provide accurate information, share resources, and give our community a voice in shaping the future of our ocean and our islands. Our focus is on deep sea mining, a topic that holds serious environmental, cultural, and economic implications for American Samoa. To ensure a productive and respectful space for discussion, we'd like to walk through the format of this evening. First, we will begin with a brief opening remarks from our governor and lieutenant governor. We will then show an informational video prepared by the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM, the federal agency overseeing marine minerals management. We will then have a video and hear a short presentation from Dr. Sabrina Suluaimahuka, Executive Director of the American Samoa Resilience Office, who will share what deep sea mining could mean for our territory. And after that, we will revisit the town hall expectation and introduce our panel of local professionals who are here to address your questions. And then finally, we will share information about how you can make your official statement or comments on this issue. And at this time, it is my honor to invite the Honorable Governor Pula Nicolau Pula to offer a few opening remarks.
O te tūlai atu I le awa tele ma le whaalualu. O te whaatulo atu le paia ma le mamalu o sa whapeona tātou whaatasi I le nei maota. Tūlounga fo I le paia I le malai o le tanu. Tūlounga le paia o tau sā mo tau whainga. O le ale toi tae I tua se upu. Awa, o le paia la veia a inga o sarivi, leo o mai o na mōria le tātou talasanga nea fiafi. Ia, o le lato ngaluenga whioi masani o wāle manuia, o tangata anuu o tu tuila manua, I whata whaitaulanga ese. O le paia fōi o le tātou wanganuu. I le mamalu ma le paia o le whalenga fulu ma le manua tele. O le ale o fo ia I se leo, ta tia ia I tama matua ma to o le whaleula a wā le lātu matawhai o I lea. Pa ia fo I o le tātou tawhitoru, le a fio fo I o le fionga le sui kovana, o malu o whaatonu, a mei se fo I le mamalu o le au whainga luenga, pa ia fo I le tātou pelestene o le fono, fa pea foi le fong fitalai, ma maota e lua, fa tulou at foi. Pa ia foi le fa misino sili, ma le a ingo whamsinonga whaatulo watu. O na iai lea se manatu o le nei au auna, ia e masalo e le leipe a whapeletania, ia nisi whaupunga a wā o loo whilungia fo i le tātou aso, ai se anganga whaafitai tātou whaatasi. E ai le i tautalatu i lea ngana, e ielau tatununga, o le nei mata upu o le deep sea mining, e matua tā ua lava, tā ua tele i le mamalu malpaia o tātou atunu. O le tūlanga lo iei le tātou malo, o mai ea na whaia se fufuanga e le kovana leu mawai atu, le fionga i Alemanu, ma le latu no fo inga, i tūlanga whapea o le whaasaina o tūlanga o le deep sea mining i le tātou EEZ, po le exclusive economic zone. E iei fo le taltununga o lok tangata ma le malo o tātou tutui le manua nei vai temi. E whapea fo ina mātou whaau lea tūlanga pe o nei ai i le vai taimi o tūna i atu. Ua mai a fo ina whaia nisi o mātou talanoanga ma fontanga, ma nisi o taitai o le tātou malo, o le iai le vaenga o le fono, whapea le fionga le Palestine i atua olo, whapea fo i le fionga le fonfitalai i a Savali Ali. Sa iei fo i ma le tātou sui Washingtone, i a ui whaatari a Matarata Wagon. Sa mātou talanoina fo i le mata upulea, sa whapea o na mātou au whaatasi, o le a whapea o na lea sapaia, e taitai o le tātou malo, ia le tūlanga lea o le deep sea mining. Ia, a o le nei aso, o le nei fo iafi, e whapitoa lava, mo le tō tele o tātou tangata nuu, mai lātou umai ma tātā ese o le tātou malo, ina i whapea o na whafonga ina o lātou manatu, mo lātou whaasoa, e tūsai o lātou langona, i le fuafuanga o le nei mata upu, e pe on tātou iai le nei afiafi. A vea o masui o le malo, e mamoli atua i le whaafitai tele, i lautou awhifio, ma tala au mai e talia, le nei fo i wala au, ina i e whaapea o na tātou ngā lulue, ma tātou whaasofa tasi i le tāua o le nei mata upu. Talofa and good evening. I want to begin by thanking each and every one of you for taking the time to attend this town hall meeting. Your presence reflects just how important our ocean, our natural resources, our future are to us all. As a government, we continue to act with caution and in the best interest of our people and the environment. In 2024, the previous administration issued a moratorium on deep sea mining activities until more information and protections could be ensured. Most recently, in June of this year, the American Samoa government, or our administration, reaffirmed the position in a public statement. As Pacific Islanders, our ocean is a lifeline, and we do not take this issue lightly. This town hall is just one of several steps our administration is supporting to ensure transparency, education, and public engagement. Its sole purpose is making sure everyone has access to information, understands the process, and has an opportunity to make their voices heard. This is especially important because the federal government is currently seeking public comments, and we want our people to be informed before making submissions. We understand that this is a sensitive and deeply personal issue for many in our community. That is why we have brought together agencies, scientists, and legal professionals to help answer questions and share what we know. Your voices matter, and not only here at home, but in federal and international spaces where decisions are being made. Out of respect for the process, I want to share that after a little while, that I will be stepping out or leaving. And this I do to remain this place a safe space for open dialogue. We want you to feel free to speak your minds, ask questions, and share your concerns without reservation. We encourage everyone to take advantage of the public comment period, which is open until July 16. Comment stations are set up here tonight, and we have also created comment hubs across the island at AS American Samoa RO, DMWR, and American Samoa EPA. This is your chance to help shape what happens next. Taitele lava for being here tonight, for engaging with care, and for continuing to protect the future of our islands and our people. Emanuia Linnea Fiafi, Faf Taitele.
Thank you, Governor Pula, for your insightful comments. Now, we regret to share that the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Pulu is unable to attend tonight's event as he had a recent change to his schedule. As such, I'd like to invite Ms. Andra Samoa, who will be delivering remarks on his behalf. After Lieutenant Governor's remarks, as mentioned in his talk, Governor Pula will then depart so that the remainder of the town hall can allow for open and candid dialogue from our audience.
E vi ia lava le alofa le atua, ua taitai mai lo o tau soifua, ma so mātou ola i le nei vaenga o le aso. E whamalulu atu o le pa au mai le awhionga Lieutenant Kovana, le susunga i le matua i a Pulu Mataala ai Junior, ono tūlanga le ma alufia. O Samoa wa umo na tofi, o pa ia whale atu nuu, pa ia whale mālo, o pa ia whale tala lelei, ia nuu atu, ia whale tini o tausala. O le nāo tu le atu le saunoanga le awhionga le Kovana o Amerika Samoa. Ai whai ia lo tangata whatau waa, e whaaleo atu ai se langona, a o se manatu mai i le awhionga Lieutenant Kovana, a wā le nofo malama o le atunuu, a wai ne i popole pe fisilingia fo i po o whea e tuai le whainga mālo. O tātou o tangata Samoa, o tangata Kerisiano, e whaamua le atua i mea uma, a wā o le atua na ia whaia le langi ma le lalolangi, o upua le whaisalamo, o loo i lona a ao mea lo loto i le lalolangi, e ona fo i maunga maua lulunga, e ona le sami na whaia lava e ia, na whaia fo i le lau ele i ona a ao. O le mtawha ioi a le Samoa, o le tausi lea o si o manga ma le sami na whaawai ai tatou a inga Samoa, ma lo o tua i ai se i o mai le aso. O sa ulangona na o au, o le ngata i whale po o le aliti tai o tutuila mamanua, o le tofi, o le whaasino manga lea o le tama po le teine Samoa, tā o fi mau. Awane amaia le poto mai fafo, ua lo fi ai tātou i nei o na aso, e ona a fia ai le lumanai. Awane i vale tu ulima le tofi. Tu i le loloto, le tō whā ma le whautanga. Aua nei tō whatu moana ina. Pe whaatau waa mala I titi a me wika sa moa I lunga o le whaafanua. O le tūlafua ina e le tūlafua ina tātou e le atua. Pe lava ona whai mai le upu, ua whaapōpō o ni aso ua, o aso folau ua le tu ua. Ia tanga loa tusi le atua I mea umalava, so I fua ma ia manuia.
Thank you, Andrea, for being here on behalf of the Honorable Lieutenant Governor. Now we'll turn our attention to a short video presentation from BOEM. After meeting with the task force last week, we were able to ask critical questions and request a video presentation to share local context. This video helps provide insights into what the agency does and its current process as it pertains to leasing ocean areas for exploration. It's important to note that American Samoa is currently in a 30-day public comment period in response to a lease request for exploratory deep-sea mining. This video serves as part of our effort to help our community better understand the process.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Natalie Dayal. I am the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM, Pacific Region Leasing Specialist for the Pacific Outer Continental Shelf, or OCS, Minerals Leasing Process offshore American Samoa. In this presentation, I will provide an overview of BOEM's role, an overview of the OCS Minerals Lease Sale process, and clarify where we are in the process with the current Request for Information and Interest, or RFI. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management's mission is to manage the development of energy, mineral, and geological resources on nearly 3.2 billion acres of the U.S. Outer Continental Shelf in an environmentally and economically responsible way. BOEM is one of 11 bureaus within the U.S. Department of the Interior and has 3 regional offices. BOEM's Pacific OCS Regional Office, located in Camarillo, California, is responsible for managing energy and mineral resources on all submerged federal lands lying beneath the ocean within the U.S. Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ, beyond coastal waters off California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii, 3 miles from the coastline to approximately 200 miles offshore, as well as submerged federal lands within the EEZ adjacent to all U.S. territories, which was included in the definition of OCS in the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act and the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Let's take a moment to look at this map of American Samoa along with the other Pacific islands. The U.S. mainland is located at the top right-hand corner. The dark blue shaded areas surrounding each of the states and Pacific territories identifies the Outer Continental Shelf areas. National marine sanctuaries, monuments, and wildlife refuges are the dark shaded areas hatched in red. The lighter yellow outline areas indicate areas of cobalt-rich ferromanganese crusts. The blue outline areas indicate potential areas of polymetallic nodules, and overlapping darker yellow outline areas indicate potential areas of both crusts and nodules. What this map represents are areas where both oceanographic and geologic criteria, including seafloor morphology such as seamounts and ridges or abyssal plains, indicate where crusts and nodules are likely to occur. While this map identifies areas with minerals potential, it does not necessarily indicate whether minerals have been found there. BOEM continues to work closely with the U.S. Geological Survey and other partners to advance the understanding and assessment of critical minerals in the Pacific OCS. USGS continues to support BOEM by providing the latest scientific data on critical mineral resources, as well as potential environmental impacts and hazards associated with seafloor development. OCS minerals refer to mineral resources located on the seabed and in the subsoil of the continental shelf beyond the 3 nautical mile limit of state and territorial jurisdiction. This presentation focuses on non-energy marine minerals, minerals other than oil, gas, and sulfur. These seabed minerals may contain critical minerals. Critical minerals include nickel, cobalt, lithium, manganese, and rare earth elements. These resources are vital to the nation's energy, technology, and defense needs. The USGS maintains a current list of 50 critical minerals that have been identified as essential resources that power our economy, strengthen our national defense, and support emerging technologies. This diagram shows seabed minerals where critical minerals may be found. Phosphorites and heavy mineral sands can occur near shore, and polymetallic sulfide deposits can occur in water depths from 100 to 7,000 meters deep. In the Western Pacific OCS, we are primarily discussing the potential for cobalt-rich ferromanganese crusts that form on the sides and summits of seamounts and ridges at depths of 400 to 7,000 meters, and polymetallic nodules or ferromanganese nodules that are potato-shaped nodules that occur on soft sediments of abyssal plains at depths of 3,500 to 6,000 meters. BOEM has the authority to administer a leasing program for minerals other than oil, gas, and sulfur in the OCS where many of these minerals can be found. On April 8, 2025, BOEM received industry interest in OCS minerals offshore American Samoa from a U.S.-based company, Impossible Metals. The company submitted an unsolicited request for a lease sale for an area located near American Samoa. BOEM evaluated the request and, in coordination with the governor of American Samoa, initiated the process for a potential lease sale. For the leasing process in American Samoa, the first step was the RFI, a request for information and interest, which is the step where we currently are, with an open comment period for American Samoa. Once the comment period closes, BOEM will analyze the recommendations, comments, and information we have received from the RFI. Looking at the process flow chart, the next two steps would include the identification of areas to be considered for leasing and a National Environmental Policy Act or NEPA review of the areas identified. The size of areas identified is intended to be sufficiently large enough to include potentially mineable mineral ore bodies. Based on area identification and NEPA review, if the decision is to move forward, the next step would be the issuance of a proposed leasing notice, which would be published in the Federal Register. This notice will include proposed sale procedures, stipulations, payments, and other terms and conditions that might be prescribed in a lease. After considering comments submitted on the proposed leasing notice, the next step would then be to issue a leasing notice that would include a description of the areas and minerals to be offered for lease, the bidding mechanism, auction details, and lease terms and conditions. If all these steps were to happen, a competitive OCS minerals lease sale under the specified terms and conditions of the leasing notice would be held. Throughout the process, there are opportunities for territorial government and community engagement and comments. Generally, the timeline for leasing process is approximately 2 years, and the activities under an executed lease and the additional approvals for subsequent activities are discussed in the next slide. Moving beyond the lease sale, the lessee would only be authorized to conduct preliminary activities, which include performing bathymetric, geological, geophysical, mapping, and other surveys necessary to develop a comprehensive delineation, testing, or mining plan, as well as submit plans to conduct delineation, testing, and mining activities for technical and environmental reviews by BOEM. Lessees are required to submit a mining plan for review prior to conducting mining activities under their lease. The mining plan may include proposed delineation or testing activities. A lessee may also decide to submit a delineation plan and/or testing plan before submitting a mining plan if those activities are needed to obtain additional data and information to develop their mining plan. It is important to note that the lessee must receive approval from BOEM prior to conducting delineation, testing, and mining activities described in their plan or plans. So what are the various plans a lessee could submit to BOEM? Delineation plans describe the activities to locate minerals and quantify minerals. Testing plans describe feasibility studies, pilot programs to evaluate processing techniques and technology, and determine environmental effects. A mining plan describes proposed mineral development, production, and processing activities. The mining plan includes detailed technical and engineering information and would cover all mineral development and production activities. The mining plan would include comprehensive detailed descriptions, illustrations, and explanations of the proposed OCS mineral development, production, and processing activities, and accurately present the lessee's proposed plan of operation. American Samoa is at the very beginning of the process, the publication of a request for information and interest in the Federal Register. This notice was published on June 16th, and we are seeking information on and interest in and around the RFI area. BOEM is particularly interested in obtaining information regarding industry interest, geologic conditions, potential environmental and cultural impacts, and the multiple uses of the area such as navigation and fishing. In Section 6 of the RFI, there is particularly helpful information on the types of information and comments we are seeking. For example, we are seeking information on socioeconomic, biological, and environmental information in and around the RFI area or analogous sites for comparative analysis, potential impacts of leasing and mining activities to these resources, and methods to eliminate, mitigate, or monitor for impacts. Another example that BOEM is seeking is any information regarding commercial, indigenous, and recreational fisheries, including but not limited to the use of the areas, the fishing gear types used, seasonal use, and recommendations for reducing use conflicts. The RFI area is located near the eastern limit of the OCS, bordering the Cook Islands Exclusive Economic Zone, northeast of the Manua Islands and Rose Atoll. And the comment period runs until July 16th at 4:59 p.m. American Samoa Standard Time or 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Written comments may be submitted electronically using regulations.gov, docket number BOEM-2025-0035, or by mail you can address the envelope to Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, Pacific Region, Office of Strategic Resources, 760 Paseo Camarillo, Suite 102, Camarillo, California, 93010. Additional information on how to submit comments and access the request for information and interest can be found at www.boem.gov/American-Samoa. Commenters should be as specific and detailed as possible to help BOEM understand and address the comments. All information provided to BOEM will be considered in the decision whether to proceed with additional steps leading to the offering of OCS minerals for lease. BOEM will continue to engage with American Samoa as part of our ongoing efforts to strengthen relationships and ensure transparency in our planning process. As part of our engagement, BOEM will discuss the comments we received during the RFI comment period with American Samoa and collaborate on next steps. Our intent is to be transparent, collaborative, and mindful throughout the process. And we welcome your comments on the RFI and input on how we can make our engagement as meaningful as possible. Again, my name is Natalie Dial. Please feel free to reach out. We appreciate this opportunity to share with you. Pa'awhitai Telalava.
One thing to keep in mind is that BOEM is committed to meeting with ASG to share bi-weekly updates. So to access this video they've just watched, you can visit the BOEM website directly for updated activities regarding American Samoa. In response to this unsolicited lease request for deep-sea mining in our waters, our territorial leadership has assembled the American Samoa Deep-Sea Mining Task Force. This multidisciplinary group was formed to ensure that our community is informed, engaged, and empowered to participate during this critical 30-day comment period. The task force includes leaders from key government agencies, subject matter experts, and representatives from the private sector, all working together to assess the potential impacts of deep-sea mining on our environment, economy, and cultural heritage. Here to present on behalf of the task force to help contextualize this issue for American Samoa, I now invite Dr. Sabrina Suluaimahuka, Executive Director of the American Samoa Resilience Office, to share a presentation on the implications of deep sea mining for our natural environment, food security, cultural heritage, and local economy.
Talafalawa, thank you all for joining us this evening. As mentioned, my name is Sabrina Suluaimahuka, the Executive Director for the American Samoa Resilience Office, and I'm honored to be the lead for the ASG Deep Sea Mining Task Force committed for community engagement. Tonight, we are here to talk about deep sea mining, what it is, what's being proposed for our waters, and what it means for our future. Our goal is to share the most updated information about the risks and the realities of deep sea mining for our territory. Next slide, please. Before we begin our presentation, I'd like to walk you through the structure of today's briefing. This town hall was organized into key sections to help guide our understanding of deep sea mining and what it could mean for our territory. This starts with the Community Engagement Task Force, defining deep sea mining, providing a little bit more context for American Samoa, and then of course going down to the realities economically, environmentally, and culturally for American Samoa, as well as our current stance, and all the way down to our final call for protection for American Samoa. These sections are designed to build a full picture from science and policy to culture and community so that you are equipped with facts, context, and the tools to take action. Next slide, please. To help guide this effort, our leadership has formed the American Samoa Government Deep Sea Mining Task Force in response to the federal RFI on deep sea mining in our waters. Its mission is to lead government coordination, ensure meaningful public engagement, and protect the long-term interests of our people and environment. The task force includes representatives from the Governor's Office, Legal Affairs, the American Samoa Resilience Office, the Department of Marine Wildlife and Resources, American Samoa Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of Commerce. Each of these individuals bring vital expertise from environmental science and policy to community development and cultural advocacy. And together, we are working to inform the public, engage partners, and prepare coordinated comments before the federal deadline. Next slide, please. Let's begin with a foundational question. What is deep sea mining? Deep sea mining, or DSM, refers to the process of retrieving minerals from the seabed, often thousands of meters beneath the ocean's surface. These minerals include cobalt, nickel, and manganese, materials commonly used in the manufacturing of batteries, electronics, and other technologies tied to the global clean energy transition. However, what we are seeing now is exploratory in nature, early stage research and proposals, and American Samoa is being included in these exploratory plans. Next slide, please. For context, American Samoa sits within the Samoan Basin, a region that is still largely unmapped. To this day, there has yet to be a comprehensive environmental impact study conducted for our waters. The proposed deep sea mining activities fall within the U.S. federal waters, specifically the outer continental shelf, but any disturbance there would directly impact our local marine life, coastal economies, and cultural practices. The graphic that you see on this slide shows the exact area identified in the RFI by BOEM. It is located just off the coast of the Manua Islands, some of our most ecologically and culturally significant islands. Understanding the location, scale, and risk of these proposed activities is critical, and why your voice matters now more than ever. Next slide, please. We can take a look to how we got here. In July 2023, the International Seabed Authority, the body governing seabed mining in international waters, was unable to establish global deep-sea mining regulations. Last year, American Samoa issued a moratorium, and then this year in April, Impossible Metals submitted its application, and the executive order was issued by President Trump to expedite the deep-sea mining leasing processes. In May, an RFI was released to seek input on the potential for deep-sea mining in American Samoa waters, and recently, ASG sent an official response letter to BOEM requesting transparency and an extension of the public comment period. Next slide, please. Across the world, momentum is building against deep-sea mining. As of June 2025, the High Seas Treaty was ratified by 90 nations, which provides for protection beyond national jurisdictions and supports moratorium zones for deep-sea mining. 15 Pacific nations, including Palau, Fiji, and Samoa, and others, have officially called for a regional moratorium. European member states have also voiced strong opposition. Nations like France, New Caledonia, and New Zealand have taken formal positions, citing risks to marine biodiversity, indigenous rights, and climate goals. This growing global consensus is rooted in science. Experts warn that we simply do not have enough knowledge to proceed responsibly. Next slide, please. First, the environmental realities. The deep sea is not an empty void. It is home to fragile ecosystems, many of which are still undiscovered. These species grow slowly, and once disturbed, their habitats may never recover. When we talk about environmental impacts of deep-sea mining, one of the biggest concerns is what we call sediment or midwater plumes. In traditional means of deep-sea mining, like dredging, machines disturb the seabed with scraping or suctioning materials. This process releases clouds of sediment that don't just stay in one place. These plumes can travel for dozens, even hundreds of miles, carrying heavy metals and toxic materials. The plumes can smother coral reefs, disrupt migratory paths of tuna and whales, and threaten the species we rely on. Next slide, please. This graphic on the slide shows how sediment can drift both upward and outward, impacting areas far beyond their original mining sites. This matters for our tuna industry, as tuna rely on clean, open water to migrate and feed. These plumes threaten those pathways, especially where tuna actively hunt. Protected marine wildlife, like sea turtles, whales, and dolphins, are also at risk. Sea turtles need clear water to migrate and nest. Whales and dolphins rely on sonar, which can be disrupted by noise and suspended sediment. Our coral reefs are already vulnerable and bleaching. If these plumes rise into shallower waters, they could smother coral, harm young fish, and interfere with the spawning cycles of species like akule and pololo. In short, this isn't just about what happens in the deep of the ocean. These impacts could ripple out, harming our fisheries, reefs, traditions, and livelihoods. Next slide, please. One of the biggest questions people have is how would American Samoa benefit economically from deep-sea mining? So we'll talk about what the data actually tells us. First, it's important to note that there is no immediate global demand to mine the deep sea. According to the International Energy Agency, current land-based reserves of key minerals are sufficient through at least 2040, and that's without deep-sea mining. The U.S. Department of Energy released a 2023 critical minerals assessment that says there is no shortage of lithium, cobalt, and other critical minerals needed for clean energy right now. In fact, recycling, innovation, and material substitution are already helping meet demand. New technologies like sodium-ion batteries are entering the market, and they don't rely on these critical metals. So is deep-sea mining urgent and inevitable? The science and market trends say otherwise. So let's talk about the revenue, because that is also another big question. To clarify, under the current Code of Federal Regulations, American Samoa is not guaranteed any revenue share or decision-making power in the process from any potential leases or mining royalties. The federal government, specifically the U.S. Department of Interior, holds the authority to issue leases and collect royalties. What that means is we could carry all of the risk without any binding agreement that we get a share of the profits. Next slide, please. Taking a closer look at the global market, we see even more realities for deep sea mining. The market is already shifting. A 2022 analysis from the Energy Storage News found that lithium iron phosphate batteries, or LFPs, are projected to dominate over traditional cobalt-heavy batteries by 2028. Lithium, one of the key minerals driving this conversation, in the last 2 years, lithium prices have dropped more than 80% due to oversupply and slower than expected demand. That means manufacturers are already moving away from cobalt and nickel, the very metals that deep sea mining targets. Instead, they're using LFP and sodium ion alternatives. Major companies are also speaking out. Brands like BMW, Google, Ford, Samsung, Philips, and General Motors have all pledged not to use any minerals from deep sea mining because the environmental cost is too high. There's also talk that deep sea mining would potentially help the US compete with China. To clarify, China's dominance comes from refining these critical minerals, not from mining. Finally, we have to learn from history. A project in Papua New Guinea was the world's first proposed commercial deep sea mine, which completely failed, as no mining ever happened. It collapsed under poor economic feasibility, strong environmental backlash, and unsolved technical risk, which cost PNG a national debt of approximately $120 million. In all, the market is moving away from deep sea mining in a different direction towards sustainable materials and smarter solutions. Next slide, please. We also know that one of the biggest questions on people's minds is, will this create jobs for our community? And the honest answer is, not in the way that one might think. Again, let's look at the facts. Deep sea mining is not labor intensive. It relies on highly automated systems, remote operated vehicles, and AI-driven machinery. The technology being proposed, like in the Impossible Metals application, is built around autonomous robots and software, not human workers. An example with PNG's project, it was promised as an economic booster. However, fewer than 50 locals were hired, mostly for non-technical support roles like cleaning or logistics. Currently, American Samoa doesn't have the technical training pipeline for careers like AUV technicians, seabed engineers, or refinement specialists. Those jobs would most likely go to overseas contractors, not local residents. On the other hand, if deep sea mining harms our fisheries, coral reefs, and traditional fishing areas, we stand to lose our food, our livelihood, and customary knowledge that supports our people right now. So even if a few short-term jobs are created, the net impact could be a loss to our economy, our environment, and our cultural future. Next slide, please. Some have also speculated that deep sea mining could diversify our economy, a new opportunity for American Samoa. However, diversification should add value, not take it away. Real economic growth means expanding our industries, not replacing or endangering the ones that already sustain us. We talk about the fisheries, especially the tuna industry. It brings in millions of dollars annually to our local economy and supports more than 5,000 jobs. That includes fishers, cannery workers, dock and port staff, vendors, and even the shipping industry. If introduced into our waters, deep sea mining potentially brings noise pollution, plumes, and seabed disruption, and we've covered those environmental realities. Once that damage is done, how do we recover? As such, the price of diversification should not be the loss of our most vital industry. Next slide, please. When we talk about deep sea mining, we can't leave culture out of the conversation. For us in American Samoa and many Pacific nations, the ocean is not just a body of water. It's a living connection to our ancestors, our identity, and our way of life. Fishing isn't just economic, it's cultural. Practices like akula fishing and gathering pololo are tied to genealogy, village knowledge, and seasonal rhythms passed down for generations. These aren't just activities, they are ceremonies, stories, and moments that define who we are as a people. If deep sea mining pollutes these waters, disturbs these patterns, and drives fish away, it doesn't only threaten biodiversity, it erodes our cultural memory, and once that is gone, it cannot be mined back. Our culture has always taught us to care for the ocean as part of our family, not as something to exploit. That's the reality we must defend. Next slide, please. For ASG stance, as mentioned in 2024 under the previous administration, American Samoa joined the growing call for the moratorium on deep sea mining, recognizing the need for caution, science-based decision-making, and protection of our cultural and environmental heritage. Continuing in that commitment, the Pula and Pulu administration reaffirmed their position in a June 2025 press release, publicly opposing any premature move toward deep sea mining in our region. As mentioned, our leaders established a community engagement task force, and this town hall is one of many steps ASG is taking to protect the future of American Samoa. Next slide, please. Impossible Metals, a company promoting AI-driven autonomous underwater vehicle, or AUV, as a new solution for harvesting polymetallic nodules. They have shared that their technology would cause low impact as the machinery hovers, not dredges. However, it is important to know what is proven at this time. So far, only one AUV prototype has been tested at a time, and only in controlled conditions without ocean currents and external factors. The kind of industrial scale operation required for deep sea mining would need an entire fleet of these vehicles operating in sync on the ocean floor. That level of testing and readiness simply does not exist yet. Their model notes that there would be no mid-water plumes, however, it would still disturb the sea floor. This can be seen in their videos on their website, and we confirmed this fact in a meeting with Impossible Metals earlier this week. As such, this process would still release sediments, toxins, and disrupt delicate habitats, impacting everything from coral to migratory species. In just 2 days, it can dump a layer of sediment across the seafloor that would normally take 125 years to build up naturally. That's 23,000 times faster than nature. In that short time, it would disturb over 4 tons of sediment, smothering everything in its path and potentially killing delicate seabed life and altering the ecosystem before it even begins full-scale mining. To confirm, there has yet to be any proposed benefits for American Samoa in the current application, as there is no formal commitment to hiring local workers, building workforce capacity, and sharing revenue. Their model does not include us, not as partners, not as beneficiaries. Some might argue we could benefit by becoming a refinement or transshipment hub. That is correct, but the idea would require us to completely reinvent our economy, investing in expensive infrastructure, importing specialized labor, and tying our future to an untested industry. It is a high-risk path that would put existing industries, such as our tuna and ecotourism, directly in jeopardy. Next slide, please. Let's take a closer look at the current application. First, the application is dominantly built on computer simulations. The model claims that the technology will be harmless, but have yet to be backed by peer-reviewed environmental assessments or independent verification. Second, despite marketing language that suggests the seabed would be gently vacuumed, the reality is that the technology still disturbs the sea floor. It removes nodules that are millions of years old that serve as the foundation for deep sea ecosystems that can take thousands of years to grow back if they recover at all. Third, there are serious gaps in monitoring and accountability. To date, there is no clarity on how operations would be overseen, what baseline environmental data would be required, or what penalties would apply if damage occurs. Without enforceable safeguards, even the promise of selective harvesting can quickly become indiscriminate destruction. These gaps in assumption, transparency, and oversight should be noted, not just for American Samoa, but for any community being targeted by emerging deep-sea mining interests. Next slide, please. One of the most important realities we must face is the scientific risk. Yes, there is data, and much of it warns us against proceeding with deep-sea mining. Studies have shown that seabed disturbances can take decades or longer to recover, with significant loss in biodiversity and ecosystem function. Sediment plumes, toxic metal release, and habitat destruction are well-documented risks that could severely impact marine life, migratory species, and fisheries. BOEM has allocated $5 million towards the study, but experts agree that full scientific evaluation of such a vast area would require much more time and investment, likely tens of millions of dollars over multiple years. Even the ISA acknowledges massive gaps in data, especially when it comes to long-term ecological consequences. We are not saying that there is no science, we are saying that the science that we do have urges precaution and that more localized and independent studies are needed before any decision can be made. In short, this is uncharted territory, both literally and scientifically. Next slide, please. As we weigh the risk of deep-sea mining, it's important to look at what's already happened or is happening in other places. We don't have to guess. There are real-world examples that show us the risk. Nauru serves as a cautionary tale. Decades of phosphate mining devastated their environment and left the country economically vulnerable. Now they are pushing for deep-sea mining, and many fear they're on track to repeat the same mistakes. The first test of deep-sea mining in the U.S. occurred in 1970 in North Carolina, and a single test removed 60,000 nodules. But decades later, scientists found 43 kilometers of visible scars on the seabed. The biodiversity in those areas has not recovered even after a couple decades, showcasing long-term, possibly irreversible damage. The Cook Islands once led the world in regulating deep-sea mining with their Seabed Minerals Act in 2009. They've since issued exploration licenses and updated regulations in 2024, but even there, rising environmental concerns are pushing public sentiment towards caution. And most notably, in New Zealand, the Supreme Court in 2021 rejected a proposal to mine the seabed. That decision has become a global legal precedent, showing that it is both reasonable and responsible to say no to seabed mining when the risks outweigh the benefits. These cases remind us if we move too fast without full understanding, the consequences could last for generations. Next slide, please. As we close out the main portion of this presentation, we want to clearly summarize what is at stake for American Samoa. First, our fisheries and tourism. Deep-sea mining threatens tuna migratory pathways and fragile coral ecosystems that are central to our economy. That puts hundreds of local jobs at risk, from long-line fishers to cannery workers to ecotourism operators who rely on a healthy ocean. Second, our food security. Sediment plumes or disturbances can carry toxins that may contaminate both reef and deep-sea fish, posing a direct threat to the health of our families and access to fresh local seafood. Third, our cultural identity. Practices like pololo and akula fishing are more than just traditions. They are sacred, they connect generations and uphold our relationship with the ocean. Deep-sea mining risks disrupting those cycles, and with it, the knowledge and identity we pass down. And finally, our voice. If we remain silent in this federal process, decisions could be made without our consent, without our protection, and without any financial benefits. This is not just about whether deep-sea mining should happen. It's about ensuring that our community has a seat at the table. Next slide, please. We are now at a critical point in the process. Until we receive official notice of an extension, the public comment period officially closes on July 16, 2025, 4:59 p.m. local time. This is the window where BOEM is accepting input from the public, and every comment submitted becomes part of the federal record. Your comment matters. It helps inform BOEM's decisions and demonstrates that American Samoa is paying attention. What you say carries weight, not just locally, but globally. Over 60 organizations, from environmental NGOs to global tech companies, are submitting formal letters to oppose deep sea mining. Whether you're a student, a fisherman, a cultural leader, or a parent concerned for the next generation, this is your moment to speak up. Next slide, please. As we close tonight's presentation, we want to remind you of the many ways you can continue learning, sharing, and taking action. We also invite you to join the I Stand with American Samoa campaign, a show of solidarity with our ocean, our people, and our right to determine our own future. You can check out the social media platforms for the latest updates. Please visit the informational booths that you see around the room. Each booth represents a different agency or organization and provides updated science-based materials to help you understand what deep sea mining could mean for American Samoa. I especially urge our community to take time to do your own research. While this presentation affirms ASG's stance on deep sea mining, I encourage you to explore academic articles, trusted scientific sources, and credible publications to form your own informed perspective. If you haven't submitted your comment yet, you can do so tonight at the comment station or at any time online before the July 16th deadline. We've also agreed to set up local comment hubs, as our governor had relayed earlier, where you can stop by during office hours to get help writing or submitting a comment. At these offices, our staff will solely assist submissions and will not influence any comments. That can be found at the American Samoa Resilience Office, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources. To note, the task force remains committed to ongoing public engagement and transparency. We plan to host additional town halls and outreach events in the future, with formats that may be adjusted to better support broad community participation and access. Next slide, please. To conclude, American Samoa is not alone in this stance. Across the globe, communities, scientists, advocacy groups, governments, and indigenous peoples are raising concerns about deep sea mining. We are seeing formal opposition and public comments coming in from local leaders, national experts, regional coalitions, and global organizations, all supporting the call to pause or prevent deep sea mining activities until science, safeguards, and the voices of communities are fully respected. From right here at home to international platforms, people are standing with American Samoa to protect our ocean, our resources, and our way of life. Your voice adds strength to this movement, and together we can make a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Suluai Mahuka. The BOEM video, the presentation slides, as well as all the academic articles and information about local efforts can all be found at our informational booths. There are printed resources and also QR codes that serve as a compilation of resources for the community. Now, before we move to the question and answer part of tonight, I would first like to invite our panelists, if you could please come forward. All right, while our panelists make their way up to the tables in front here, we would like to go over our town hall expectations to ensure a respectful and open space for dialogue. First, we would like to remind everyone to please speak one at a time. Second, to ensure we give space for input, each comment or question will be limited to 2 minutes. Remember to keep your comments brief and focused. Please, no personal attacks or shouting will be allowed. And remember that this is a public space, and let's treat each other with respect even in disagreement. And finally, you may ask questions or share your comment at the microphone. There will be a microphone that will be passed around. So again, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue to keep this an educational and constructive space for everyone. And again, I would like to now introduce our panel of local professionals who are available to answer our questions from the audience. These panelists include representatives from the Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources, the American Samoa Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Commerce's Coastal Management Program, as well as the Legal and Marine Science Advisors. Again, if we could have our panelists please join us. Oh, okay. In the front, from Mulmule. And at this time, I believe the governor is now going to excuse himself. Okay. All right. Again, panelists from Mulmule, if we could have you guys all in the front row. Okay, I believe they are making their way up now. Okay. Now, while they take their seats in the very front row, again, if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, go ahead and please raise your hand, and a mic will then be presented to you. All right, we will now go ahead and begin our comments and question session at this time. Can we get a mic from Mulmule?
Thank you for the opportunity. My question was specifically for the governor, but if anybody can answer that for me, it was part of the presentation from BOEM where it said impossible, and the governor approved the lease request before it went into this, that created this uproar of going against or standing against deep sea mining. Is there any way that he can remove his approval that started all of this?
I'm not sure who asked the question, but thank you very much for the question. Yeah, the governor has left, but my understanding of what initiated this was a request not by the governor and not in cooperation with the governor, but a request from a company wishing to start the seabed mining. And under the federal rules, once a company expresses an interest, such as Impossible Metals, the federal agency that is responsible for that area, in this particular case it's BOEM, that agency under their own rules, once they get a request, they have to put out a publication. I take that back. They have the opportunity to consider whether or not they want to put out an RFI or whether they want to deny it altogether. In this particular case, they decided to put out the RFI, and that's the 30-day notice. With respect to whether or not there was cooperation or collaboration with the governor, I'm not aware of that. That is something that, again, is a federal agency that's responsible for that process. As of now, it opened up the window for this comment period, which is a 30-day period. And during this period, it's the governor's position, as he stated, that he stands in opposition to the leasing. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
One more question. Like former Governor Lemanu, who wrote a moratorium against deep sea mining last year, or to extend the period of, is it possible for the governor to do the same?
Well, the moratorium is still in place. The executive order that former Governor Lemanu put into law or issued back in July of 2024 was never repealed or rescinded. It's still in place. The question is, where does our authority as a territory lie when it comes to the EEZ? The EEZ is an area that is under federal law, under the sovereign responsibility, authority of the federal government, even the American Samoa EEZ. However, under their own federal rules, under BOEM's federal requirements, they are required to work cooperatively with American Samoa and American Samoa's leadership. That's probably why you saw the governor's name mentioned in their own slides, because that's one of their requirements. They're required to work with American Samoa's government and American Samoa's people. And so it's, I think from a government perspective, and if I can speak on behalf of the government, from a government's perspective, our job right now is to ensure that whatever federal requirements there are, that they make sure not to skip any. Unfortunately, we did get a press release that was issued just last week that BOEM issued that said that they were going to fast track this. So that is a question that you know, our office is working to question. What is the requirements? What are the federal rules requiring? And what is this fast track process? And is it aligned with what the rules say, and is it aligned with what we're entitled to? So those are some things we are questioning, we're looking into, but again, it's a question of where does our authority, what are our rights with respect to this process? Thank you.
Can I get a clarification to the previous lady's questions? And also, I would like to thank the gal that did the presentation. It was well done. And my take on it is very grim. First of all, I think what the First Lady is asking, that was questioning, and I want to know, the only purpose I came here was for the lease. What is this lease? What does it entail? And why is it required of us to sign a lease? And the reason why I'm inquiring is that, first of all, there's the international law that regulates the sea. You mentioned federal. One of the things that I've learned is that even though we did not ratify together with all the people that signed into this, but we're still, my question is there a case that can also apply to us to protect us from that 200 nautical EEZ that a delegation from this place went up and asked for it to take off from the protection so we can fish? So the way that I'm looking at it, while Trump signed this, allowing us to fish. And then he turns around and then have us, another company, the metal company, is that a third party, or is that, first of all, BOEM? That
Yeah.
is part of the Department of Interior, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so essentially, it is the US that's having us, I mean, we have no say, isn't that correct?
Well, under the again, in terms of the process, it's a federal process that is already outlined in the federal regulations that govern these types of processes for leases. So that process has already been established. That process, however, does require input. So when you say, we do have a say in terms of our input, but do we have a say as to what this process is? At this point, we're looking into it as to what our rights are with respect to this process. But at a minimum, the federal government has to follow their own process. They can't just skip steps in their own process. And so that's one thing we're looking at, is that to ensure that they do follow their own process. As to whether or not we have a right to change that process, that's another issue we're looking at. But that process does allow for input. And that's, for example, this 30-day period, as well as other steps along the way.
So you're saying that it allows us for input, but it really doesn't matter. Is that correct?
Honestly, this is the first seabed mining lease ever. And so I can't really answer that question. BOEM does have rights to, or they do leases in other places. For example, in the Atlantic, they do mineral and oil leases and gas leases. So we have some precedent with respect to how they issue leases in those areas in the Atlantic. But this is the first seabed mining lease of this type offered by the federal government. And you're right, there is an international process, but like they're trying to fast track this particular lease, they've actually, and when I say they, the federal government, actually also is not follow, they went ahead and did this process outside of the International Seabed Authority.
My last question. You're saying fast-tracked. The only thing that I looked at was, can we postpone it? And do I hear correctly that we've already went ahead and authorized the leasing without doing the comments and asking if we could postpone it because is there an urgency for it right now?
We didn't do, the government of American Samoa did not provide any input as far as the lease at this point. With respect to the 30-day comment period, the governor did request an extension, another 30-day extension. We got word back that that was approved. However, it has to go through a federal register process. And so rather than announce that the 30 days has been extended, we rather operate on, we have 30 days until it's officially been extended. So, we are working to, again, ensure that whatever rules or processes are in place, that they not skip a step, and that they give us all due respect with respect to input. I do have to say again that this is why it's critical that whatever concerns that the people have, that they make sure to use this comment period to raise those concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I just also wanted to add in, when we met with BOEM, my apologies, when we met with BOEM last week, Thursday, they did share, according to the process that they shared in their video, it could stop at any time. If it stops after the comment period, that's a possibility, but we don't know what that looks like yet, because to reiterate, it is a new process, this is a new lease, but that is again why our comments are very critical. And so perhaps we have, I think before we came here tonight, we had 97 comments. If we're looking at the number of registered voters or the number of residents who actually do oppose it, or if we're looking at the Facebook comments and shares, 97 is not enough. And so again, it's very critical that if it's possible that our comments are weighed with so much worth, maybe the quantity, the quality, perhaps that is an option that BOEM stops the process there. Another option is they talk about the environmental impact study. Perhaps they look at that, maybe it's not as sound, they could stop the process there too. So again, according to the BOEM video, they specifically shared it can get to the end where the lease is given, but it can be stopped at any point. I hope that provides clarity.
Thank you. And just a reminder to all of those who would like to comment, please briefly state your name and village, just so that we can be able to record it for public record.
Talofa. Ia oro ingoa o malai o taanga ia whiai sa ite molinga. Ole to o mai manu tele. So, I kan whaiak mungo sa amkulanga le nganga sa moe. I whaingo whiai le, meolo iai le, langonga ngei ku malo. Kurau le pa ia da whio whakui mkoko, a mesele maluore le ku malo mungo kele. Pa ia fwoi o whaleanga fulu i on kulang whalu pa ia o le ale o e sa amkulanga. Au ke ngako le ua ka okole, le saunganga la whionga kovanga, malfi ngalo kai kai o kako ngu, kai o whainga malo. I lo kat ngunga. Ia, so se isi lawa ngaku, ia ko kuila ma mngua. Ia e whanong longo ma, mai kaukulanga me kupur kako soifuanga. Ua, o kako aku moku piko isiri o laiki. O ke mga kuila mga ku mawhakere ko kere la langi ako kuila ma mngua ma Samoa ma moko Pasifika. Ua umang kako iloa ma kako sila fia. Na fianga o kako aku moku. I kulanga o swingo o le kau e mafo mai o ngā o kulanga o lo iaile i le kawilinga o soifuanga la langi. Ua kere foi me kupure i kako aku moku. E a fia o kako moku laiki. E le ngā kai a fia i kako soifuanga i aso uma. A so ngakalawa Samoa ma kako o ka ua ko kuile mangu o lako ainga ma lako ngufanga. E kaung kako manga kungaku mawhai kulanga o me whape kupure. E a fia i kako si o mianga i a man kako ngā kai whane. I laula mangaku ngai kula fiafi. O ko kala foi man fa keke me lo ko ko fi ngalo fa kuim ko ko pale ku malo mo kele. Wa o mako isi mo ko shiringa lai. O lawa ka ko maka da fianga ka ko moku. O ngor swingo o le kau. Environmental changes ile. Ya o ngor global warming me fa penga fa punga fa perkangia. O lo afia ka ko soifuanga maka ko ngakai fale. Ya e fengo fianga foi marka ko kulanga lo ka ko la e so foi ka ko mo o ke ka ko la kulanga lo wo ko finga lo ka yo ka ko fenga malo ya em kwa sap sapaya e ma ko ku malo ile ke malo se kulanga yo kon fa mai pe on mele ka ngo nge fiafi as far as what we're discussing tonight, as Toto from the Minotele, we stand firmly behind the decision by our government leaders and also our traditional leaders to oppose the deep sea mining around that. It also has an impact on our livelihood every day living in the South Pacific, especially for us in American Samoa. We have seen the impact of global warming against our islands and our seashores. But we should have enough of this. We don't have to look that far. But as we stand firmly behind the decision by our leaders, our government leaders, to oppose against deep sea mining. So for our people in Manua, and for all of us that calls American Samoa our home, we should be concerned about the changes that we go through every time because of global warming. So we stand firmly behind the leaders, our decision by our leaders, and so as our people in Manua. Thank you.
Can we get a mic here?
Taila malam noa ia olo ingoa tau wā o te sau mai poloa ia ma whatumufuti. My question is simple, and I'm glad that Mahuka brought it up. The presentation was crystal clear, and it should send a clear message and where we should be standing as a community. So my question is, I think the critical process right now for us is our submissions. So I wanted to ask if there is a specific number of submissions that is required by BOEM. Yeah. So I wanted to ask that.
Thank you so much for the question. When we met with BOEM last week, they did not share a specific quantity, and they also don't have a set formula in place to weigh the comments. And so we're asking the community just to be as thorough as possible, get all of our comments in, and try to make them thorough. I hope that answers it.
Thank you.
Talofa, sorry, just sit down. Tulo lava. My name is Carolina from the village of Awasi, and I'm here with my two young daughters here, whose future stands in the decisions that we make, as well as the federal government. I just want to add that I did put a comment in. I'm one of that 97, and so I guess our purpose here is to ensure that all of our friends and family have the opportunity to comment and to share their voice. The reason why I'm here, and this is my first town hall meeting, the reason why I'm here is because I feel the seriousness of this. This is my children's future. And I'm a former marine science teacher and science teacher. So they've been educated before they came here, and I just want to thank Dr. Sabrina for doing such a great job on this presentation. Amazing. And actually, they were just nodding their heads because this is something that we should educate not just us adults, but our children. This is their future. Not too long ago, the Okeano Explorer was here, and I had students go and explore. They had ROVs, and the ROVs were to explore the ocean. They did a live on YouTube, and we were able to see underneath the benthic ocean, beneath 6,000, 11,000 meters, the life that exists there. All the luminescent and the weird creatures that crawl there. And all of these creatures are under this seabed. And they have been, there's no light down there. It's pretty dark. So for life to form there, it has to take thousands and thousands of years to form. It's not like our forests. You know, they do mining, they've already destroyed a lot of forests. And there's human contact. There's no human contact down there. We have these ROVs, these robots that they build, they send them down there, and they're going to destroy life that has not been discovered fully yet. And who knows, we could probably have some cure for cancer that's down there in the deep ocean. So with that being said, and everything that Dr. Mahuka Sabrina has mentioned today in her presentation, as well as the governor, I'm so glad because I thought the governor was on the other side. Glad that Faftai Ile Utama Tofa Il Tato Tai Tai E Tuai against the seabed mining. So I just wanted to share that, my voice. I didn't realize that there is, we really don't know. We don't know for sure where we stand, but what we can do is speak up and share our voice and spread the news on our Facebook friends, which means I have to go activate my Facebook account again and tell everybody to put a comment on this. I did see the fast track, which was it kind of made me feel an urgency of like we need to act on this, and that's why I'm here tonight. I saw that there is a fast track on minimizing the time to go through their process, so which makes it even more urgent for us American Samoa citizens to act on this. Have your friends from here or your family from even off island, because ecosystem. Paftai malabatele yasofua.
Thanks. Brian Peck, recently retired U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, manager of Rose Atoll National Wildlife Refuge and Marine National Monument. I share all the concerns that Sabrina very well laid out in the presentation about impacts, potential impacts, a lot of unknowns to species and habitat. I will get my comments in officially before the deadline, July 16th. My question, though, tonight is with the deeds of cession and how they might be coming about with the ASG official response with BOEM. For those, there's a court history, a case with the deeds of cession, I think starting about 2016 through about 2021. So there's some precedent there in the courts. I think it went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Anyhow, I'd just like to hear any thoughts that you might have right now on the deeds of cession.
I guess I'll answer that since it's a somewhat legal question. And I think the case that you're referring to is the case of the National Marine Fisheries, NMFS, where the local government sued about a rule that they had changed. And it went to the Ninth Circuit appellate. It was, the government won at the district court level in Hawaii, but it was overturned in the Ninth Circuit, by the Ninth Circuit. We are looking at the deeds of cession. This stage, however, it's premature to raise that issue as a potential complaint. I mean, I say that from the legal standpoint, from our office's standpoint. Of course, if you want to raise that in your comments, that's everybody's prerogative. You know, these are the deeds of cession. This is Samoa. For example, To'o Ta'anga also talked about, you know, Manua's importance and the importance of the waters to the islands of Manua. So all of those traditional, cultural deeds of cession, all of those are comments that need to go in during this comment period. But as far as looking at it from the legal perspective, we are looking at it. We're looking at it in the long run, not at this stage. This stage is, again, comment period to get as many comments in there as possible. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, My name is Matulmanu Sausimaya. I'm from the village of Pangpango, U.S. Army veteran, a fisherman, and a farmer. In my opinion on this, well, I oppose the mining of our seabeds. And my position here is a very simple solution, or my view of what's going on here with the mining project. We all learn in an early age of what damages does the life cycle and whatnot if we destroy our plants and living cycle there. So doesn't necessarily need a rocket science to understand what's going on here. What we have here is the same thing that's going all over the world that we see every day on the media, the news, and whatnot. The oil crisis with the wars going on and all these things happening in this planet. And we live in a small community here. We're people with simple, we live, we don't need all these billions of dollars that we want to make from this battery resource and whatnot. So it's an issue that some rich people or people don't want to take over and enrich themselves from our resources and fishing to me is culturally, fishing to me is my culture and my way of living, and I really am key to that, because that's what my identity and what my people are about. We just, as long as we got a roof over and we don't worry about batteries and whatnot that we can get up. But I see the big people are trying to reach down here into our space and take what minerals and what that belongs to us. The gentleman mentioned about the deed of cession. These are covered under that proclamation to protect and to make sure our culture is not being loose and preserve our land and seas. Without seas, we are nothing. Without the fish life, we are just nothing. And I know for sure, you go out here and cut down all these trees, we will not have any more erosion and all that stuff's gonna happen. Look at Haiti. When all those trees were cut down during the blockade, the land just they used that for fuel, and for a few years, the entire island of Hispania was eroded. And look at Nauru. During my young age, Nauru was a very rich island with nickel and and look at it now. I just saw a documentary that people are sitting around just looking at the sky. With the climate change, it's not gonna help at all. So let's keep our space and our oceans clean from exploitation and for someone to benefit of something that we are entitled to and its own, that our forefathers travel way out here to discover these places that we can live, and now here we are, getting told by someone else that, hey, we're gonna take your metal because we got the finance to do these things. Thank you very much, and I strongly oppose this mining expedition here. Thanks.
No to mining, yes to Moana. I speak for the ocean because the ocean speaks for me. I protect the ocean because the ocean is my home.
Any more comments? Yeah, can we?
I'd like to thank everybody that made it here tonight. 97 people out of the whole population isn't very much. But before I make any comments, I'd just like to ask if all the elected Faipuli in our legislature are here tonight, because they're the ones that we pay to represent our interests. And I'd just like, I know, can see a couple of them here. If you wouldn't mind standing up so the public that is here tonight can see who you are. You're our spokesman. We've got Swains Island here. Is anybody else in the house? Well, that kind of tells you the whole story. My only comment is that I think there should be more information involved in this. The United States of America is a very powerful country, and this property that they want to develop is in the EEZ zone, which is federal land. And I just think that more thought should be put into it. And I want to refer to the American Samoan Science Fair. I went to all the kids' presentations. I just think the younger generation should have a little bit more understanding in school on what's going on. And if we want to get more people to make comments, everybody here should go talk to your Faipuli and say, where were you tonight? I mean, this is a very important issue. And not knowing the full issues, I abstain from forming an opinion, but do attend zoning board meetings and project notification board meetings, and there's just not that much public involvement in what happens on this island, okay? Let's see the House of Representatives when the new Phono building is done. Have a TV so everybody can see what your elected Faipuli is really doing there. We got this $40 million building coming up. Well, let's see what our Faipuli have to say. They're the ones that we're paying to do our politicking for us. And in that, I'd like to refer the microphone to Mr. Jennings for him to make a few comments.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, ote. Ka talofatu. I malo tatua fia. Yeah, ale hotots from Talanga. I want to thank you. Actually, I've been sitting here. I'm the chairman of the House Marine Resource and Fisheries Committee. Oh boy, this is, I really appreciate Dr. Mahuka's message. In fact, picked up some stuff there and I gave him my email. I said, this is a strong message. But I also want to remind everybody of what the Attorney General said. And this is where I'm more like Jim. I have to get both sides of the story. I'm waiting for somebody that's supporting this seabed mining, you know, because it's got a really strong support in the federal level. For an executive order like this, and we've been through this with the National Marine Sanctuary, with the fisheries. Once that steamroller starts going, you can't stop it. So we have to be aligned. What can we do that we can best benefit American Samoa with this thing? You know, what is it that we can do? You know, so is there really any chance that we can stop the federal government from going through seabed mining? I really don't think so. Anything beyond 3 miles, that's no longer ours, regardless of what the deed of cession says. I'm sorry, but that's what we've seen happen in the past. So I just want to say, I got 2 weeks before the 14th, I believe it is, and we'll probably call a committee here to see what we can do between now and then. And hopefully we get an extension. But I really, really appreciate everybody's here this evening, and I'm trying to get myself wrapped around this. And hopefully that we'll be able to do something that we can get out of, regardless of what the executive order does. But anyway, thank you for the time, and anybody that supports this, please, I want to hear. Or any questions for me, that's fine. Oh, who's got it?
Good evening, everyone. Kifakulawa kule paia male malu kakofia. Ora uswafo Tony Lankilde mai whangatongo. I was born and raised in this territory, and I believe in indigenous rights. That's our fight. We can fight for our indigenous rights. And what they're talking about, this area where they're thinking of mining, is probably the most richest marine life in the Samoan Islands. And that is around Rose Island and also the Manua Islands. So we have to fight for it. And we use our indigenous rights because that's what we have. And that's the value that we have. So our indigenous rights are very important. We got to fight for it. And I'd like to commend and applaud the presentation that was given to us. I think that was excellent. And it really cleared a lot of things that, we didn't understand about sea mining. Fisheries and tourism is our industries. And it's been with us for over 50 years. We can reinvent the wheel with the tourism. We did it before during the intercontinental days and the cable car. And we can do it again. So those are the industries that we have to concentrate on. We don't need to diversify to this type of industry because it ruins, as the presentation clarified, it'll just destroy our marine life ecosystem and so on and so on. So for us to really fight, if we really have to fight, we have to fight for our indigenous rights. Thank you very much.
Test. Okay, talofa and good evening, everyone. My name is Wisaina Collins. I'm from the village of Pangupangu. I'm here tonight to represent the American Samoa Resilience Office, but beyond that, I'm also here to represent the youth that I work with, the same youth that you raise, because that's who matters here. While we may not see these immediate effects of deep sea mining, it's about our kids. While you can take a stand now, even if you think that it doesn't matter, it does. We cannot leave here if our industries, our fishing, and our major industries are the tuna canneries. You literally cannot afford to offer up our waters to somebody else to exploit our shores. We may not see the immediate effects, but it's about our kids that we can take preventative measures now. But if we don't do anything now, even a small thing as a comment, just to tell them to stop, if we don't do that, if we don't take the preventative measures, then our kids and our kids' kids are gonna have to take the reactive measures. And you saw from the presentations tonight, if this is your first time here, your first time ever learning about it, you've already seen what it can do and the damage that can't be undone. And that's not something that, again, we can afford. So I don't want us to leave here thinking that none of this matters. I understand that mentality, that grim mentality, well, you know, the federal government's so much bigger than our islands. But, you know, we have a lot to offer too. They need to listen to our voices because we're the #1 input of their military. We have a strong say. You need to stand in solidarity against this because, again, while we may not see it, it's gonna affect our kids. And you heard here tonight from our youth. We have another group in the back that can tell you all about why they say no. And that's because they understand, and it's not because anybody's influenced them. It's because they've seen these presentations, they've done their research, and we encourage you all to do the same too. Again, for the sake of our youth, for the future of our island community, we need to say no to deep sea mining. Thank you.
Yeah, talofa kula yak tua malifalo. First of all, my name is Archie Soliai. I just wanted to ask our panelists if you could maybe expand a little on this position that our territorial leaders have taken with respect to opposition and what that entails with the current federal process that BOEM is undertaking. What does that mean? Does that mean we, American Samoa, is not going to participate in anything further after we express our opposition, or are we going to continue to engage? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? I think it's important, and I have a comment to make right after.
Thank you, Mr. Soliai, Tautasi. With respect to the opposition to the proposal, it is what it is. They're in opposition and in unified opposition to the federal proposal. Does that mean they're not going to be involved after the process of comment? I don't think so, because I think that might, we'd have to look at what that means in terms of procedurally, but you know, we also don't want to sit on our rights. If we just sit here and not say something or continue in this process, we might also be ignored. So in terms of what that means and how does that correlate to this process, I think right now it's the position of the government is to continue to voice that opposition in whatever avenue is available. And right now that avenue is this 30-day comment period. And like Dr. Mahuka, Suluai Mahuka mentioned, I wasn't on that call with BOEM, but according to BOEM, it can potentially end at whatever point in the process. I'm trained to be a pessimist, so I'm preparing for, you know, and so I don't want to scare anyone, but, you know, my job is to prepare for plan B, plan C, and so on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, BOEM has committed to bi-weekly meetings with the task force lead. So I'm serving as a chair, and Michael McDonald is serving as a co-chair. So right now, we just got the invitation, I think earlier today, and so our next meeting is next week. And then at the same time, after the comment period ends, they've also shared that they will be here in person, potentially in September, so that we can go over what that comment period looked like for American Samoa. So we are trying to work hand in hand in every step of this process, where the comment period precedes the next step or so forth, but we have bi-weekly update meetings with them. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you also for the great presentation, Dr. Mahuka. I'm glad to hear that from the Attorney General, because I think this process is going to be a very long process. As I understand it, it's going to take at least 10 years from where we are now until any extraction, if we ever get that far. But I'm happy to hear that we're considering other folks to come down and present to the public. And I think that's the best approach that we should be taking in this discussion, is to have a balanced approach. There's a lot of unknowns with respect to deep sea mining, as you so rightly presented. But then there's always two sides to the story, and hopefully we can hear from industry side, so that when people make their decisions, they'll be informed decisions. We know what the position is that ASG has. We know, the potential impacts to our fisheries, to our economies. But I think it's, for general understanding, to invite industry so that they can share the different technologies that are out there that, if the U.S. does decide on doing this, we'll know what those technologies are. Two more points. I think, the executive order that President Trump issued with respect to deep sea mining, there were two key words that stood out in that executive order that's fast-tracking this. It's national security and national interests. And I think, this is one of the key reasons why Trump is pushing this forward, is for national security purposes. I mean, we can make the argument all we can, but Trump is eventually going to do what Trump wants to do. I think we all know that's where it's headed, but it's important for us to continue to engage and get a broader conversation on this. They say that the burden of knowledge is in communication. And in translating that to the Fasamoa is Oleuta Lepoto Lefatalai. So I would highly encourage that we get a broader conversation from all sectors, be part of this conversation. And I'm happy to hear that, that's the goal of the task force, is get more people involved, get more town hall meetings, more hearings, so that, general public can make those informed decisions. So thank you.
Tula ia foi fatalofa malu au nei ia viafi. Me vole malu tuila manua fatasi mai fa long mai foi nei taimi. O te lon mata upu nei mata upu e taua o e a favinga ia te maainga a fainga isi o so manga nga kai fale e me se foi so fua o tato watno. E tauang tato so e ia vaanga SS o nei mata upu. E le taunga whaapea na o meo NGOs, mai sika nā tai whai mai lato tala. Tau at whai le tātou atu no se tonu lei. Na o fōi mai manu al vai aso leng te atu nei wha mai al tala lua no o male. Ta o rengi atule. O rengi masi. O rengi ia o me umai ia whainga mai meo peo le. Ta nganga le. Koko o ia kanga. Meo climate change. Al mata upula lea. O le seabed mining po le whaangaina o le taele o Sami. A wale i ngalo e tātou. O le isi tu o le, o ka tātou EEZ po o le tūlanga whea ia le vāo tātou ma le atu motu leo kuki. Wa umanga awe lato lai senge, atu motu kuki. Ia sainga. O sainga la ele pe ele mga ia la kou sesi a kungu. O mai la kou o lola ki kele ku i lalo. Ia o ilkanga kai a whainga ka kou. O le ana le o tele au o tele te fo il mata au pule au te loa. O le meta ua ia sue tātou mea saunga le mu ai tātou. Ia eistangata ma losi wea le vai wha le sainga mai mese le tu pito sami le whai e lato ngluenga. I le ase si malo sino malo tele amlika. Ia o la o Whakuanga ale whaapea le tatou au mai whaale tu la whono ia ma whai whaale ia wawa inga o Sami. E a whainga kako. E le es kako pule el kuki, e le es kako pule seika. E anga amlika le puipuia kako. O awa tau papa William Sawyer sau mai pupua. I'm really happy to be here tonight. I know that this is a very important subtopic for all of American Samoa. I've already written as chairman of the Republican Party, but I'll tell you that this is a really important topic for us.
the seabed mining, as Dr. Tassi mentioned, we have China on our doorstep. If we don't get engaged and make sure that we have all the protocols in place, all the monitoring in place for our ocean, when China is next door to us, then you know what? All the fisheries and everything else is going to be destroyed anyway. This is really important. The only one I can stand up to China, of course, is the United States of America. We can't say no, as Dr. Tassi had mentioned, that, you know, national security is very important to this administration and to the United States of America. Right now, China controls, as you saw in the presentation by BOEM, about 90% of even the area where there's seabed mining that's going to happen between Hawaii and LA. China's got the majority of those licenses from the ISA. Right now, this is the only place probably the United States of America can find these rare earth minerals. So in the end, our territory only controls 3 miles, you know, as Representative Jennings said. We only control 3 miles. The rest of it is controlled by the federal government. We went through this in the fisheries, on the sanctuaries, on the monuments. You know, what are you going to say? So this is the same kind of thing that's going to happen. If we don't stay engaged, if we don't start voicing and saying, okay, well, let's see what's happening there, you know, what's going to happen is we're going to just be left behind, and we don't have any protections. We need to be cognizant of that. It's very important. The other thing is, I think, and I thanked Dr. Mahuka for her presentation, but I think the benefit cost stuff needs a little bit more detail. A lot of things are not present. The benefit to our port is not in there. We don't know if they're going to provide any training. We don't know. I know I used to work in petroleum, as everyone knows. They're going to be from the Cook Islands, and the boats that are going to be there and here, they'll be here. And they will take fuel, they'll take provisions, they'll take all the other stuff that might be benefit to us. That's not in here. We don't know that yet. But we need to be engaged so we can find out what our future holds. And then we can make the rules a little bit better for our benefit in all cases. Anyways, that's my thoughts.
I'm going to turn around. Good evening. My name is Gabby Faiwaso. I'm from the villages of Whangatunga and Nu'uli. I think wonderful presentation from Dr. Tsuluwai Mahuka. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a media person, and it's very important to be informed, and that's why I'm here today. I think a lot of people have a good idea of the risks and maybe not so much the benefits, but I think the key word here is balance. And then the biggest balance on our island is our relationship with nature. And if we risk everything for that, what's left for our future? So one thing that I do want to say tonight that I think is really important is that we all have families. That's who we are as Samoans, and each of our voices are important. So go home, find 10 people, I know you know 100 people, and make sure that they comment something. That's all I need to say. So maybe pledge that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Brett Butler. I'm from the village of Pango Pango. And first of all, I want to say to Dr. Mahuka, what a great presentation you put on for us. One thing that was said was we're in uncharted waters. So I don't think decisions need to be made today, but I think we still need to collect a lot of data to make sure we make the right decisions. So there's a lot of new things that are happening, in particularly in technology. And this discussion is great, but at the end of the day, I think we should keep an open mind and trying to build a future for American Samoa, whatever that is. Whatever that is, but I think we need to get more information in. I think that to have the panel is a great thing. You know, and the one other comment is, if the Cook Islands are moving forward with this seabed mining, deep sea seabed mining, I mean, what if they do this? I mean, it's going to affect American Samoa, right? So we're gonna hope. I don't know how soon, where they are, but it's gonna affect us. And one thing to comment on the EEZ, if Rosatoll, I'd like to get a clear. If Rosatoll is not part of American Samoa, is what we're talking about going to affect Americans? Will we be in that area that they want to seabed mine? Will that affect American Samoa? I mean, what I'm saying is what qualifies for the seabed mining is because Rosatoll is far east, and it gives us more land to be called REEZ. We don't do anything in Rosatoll. So it's Rosatoll that qualifies American Samoa to look at this EEZ. So if we didn't have Rosatoll, if the U.S. says, hey, you know what, American Samoa, if you don't want to participate, then I'm going to make Rosatoll under the United States. We'll make that decision. But it's really, that Rosatoll Island is what qualifies this area for under our EEZ. So yes, the United States will have a lot of say if they want to go that way. So those are a few comments. I'm neither strongly for or strongly against. I just think we need to get more data to understand what's best for American Samoa. Thank you.
All right, we'd like to thank everyone who asked a question and made a comment. But before we close, we do want to put out two important items. The first one, we want to remind everyone that this town hall is not a standalone effort, and there will be future events with different presenters and varied platforms. And second, I want to emphasize how important your voice is in this process, as everyone has stated here tonight. American Samoa is in a federally designated 30-day public comment period regarding this proposed lease for deep sea mineral exploration, and we strongly encourage every person here tonight to submit a comment, whether you're a student, fisherman, a Matai business owner, or a concerned resident. To make it easy, we've set up comment booths at tonight's events, and you can also submit comments through the American Samoa Resilience Office, the Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources, and the American Samoa Environmental Protection Agency. Again, all comments must be submitted by July 16th by 4:59 p.m. And staff are available to help you write or submit your comment before you leave tonight if that is what you want to do, and we encourage you to do that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the American Samoa Deep Sea Mining Task Force and the American Samoa government, we want to thank you all for being here tonight. Your presence and participation shows the strength in our community, and we hope that we continue to protect our ocean, our culture, and our future together. And I would now close our gathering tonight in a word of prayer. Our dear, most gracious Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this evening. We're grateful for the information that has been shared. We're grateful for all of those who came tonight with a passion to help protect American Samoa. We're grateful for our leaders and our community members that have shown here tonight. And we pray, Father, that we may continue to stay educated and be able to stay informed in terms of what we need to know to continue to advocate for our people and our lands. We pray, Father, that you'll continue to bless our people, bless American Samoa, our government leaders as we move forward. We ask you, dear Father, for thy blessings upon all of those who are here tonight, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.